It's not fast.
No, nothing's done yet. Well, we err on the side of transparency then, clarity rather than efficiency, and that's what we choose.
That's what we do.
Everyone ready?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I thought you were looking homeless last time I saw you. You're looking pretty good there. I gotta work on mine. Got a few.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 20th, 2024 Logan Municipal Council Meeting. Thank you all for being here. So it's great to see our citizens out. Due to the length of some of our items today, I'm going to ask Aaron to come and please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'll stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Aaron. All right. At this time, I would accept a motion for the acceptance of the minutes and the approval of the agenda for tonight.
I'll move acceptance of the minutes and approval of the agenda.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion?
Minutes looked good.
Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are approved. Just a reminder that for the 2024 regular meeting schedule, it continues to be the first and third Tuesday of every month at 5:30. Our next meeting will be March 5th here in the council chambers. At this time, we open up the floor for questions and comments for the mayor and staff. Anyone who would wish to bring a question or a topic to us can simply come forward. Please make sure you have signed in at the back of the room with your name and your location. Anything that is addressed to the council at this time is something that is not otherwise on the agenda. Just a reminder of that. Comments should be limited to not more than 3 minutes. And we would ask you to be respectful in your language and respectful of those around you as well. We do have a pretty big agenda, so if somebody does raise a question, chances are we will defer that and have the staff or a city council member answer your questions after the meeting is over. So anyway, the floor is yours if you would like to come up and address us.
My name is Luann Harris, and I'd like to, I don't know if it's on the agenda, I'm sorry, about the land that where the mall is. I wrote a letter about suggesting about a cemetery there, but I can see that would not be good. But I am concerned about all the apartments that you're planning on building there. With the traffic on the Main Street, and we have no idea with these other two big apartments that's going up, they'll soon be out with traffic. Have you done any traffic studies up there on how that will affect the traffic with building more apartments? Anyway, I would suggest that not apartments be built there. Logan City is being known as a city of apartments, and we just cannot have so much traffic on that highway. I would suggest that it be a park, that there would be needed to be parking for what businesses around there, but a park there would be great with a gazebo and maybe in it and that would be some trees and grass. And then the other question I had was where I heard that you're going to put cell phone towers in all our parks. I can't imagine, you're shaking your head, that's not going to be, I can imagine that even happening. That's not what parks are for. But anyway, those are two things I have, and you know from what, before I've been up here, that I'm concerned about cemeteries. And talking to Randy the other day, he said what they can do is they can annex land from North Logan and bring into Logan that we have a cemetery outside, to the outskirts of there. With land the way it's going nowadays, it seems like that's something that needs to be taken care of in the near future, or else the land's not going to be available to do that. Anyway, Logan is getting to be the size that there needs to be a cemetery for them. This one is not going to be big enough for them. Thank you.
Thanks, Luann. We'll make sure someone gets back to you with your answers to
What?
I'll make sure someone gets back to you with answers to your questions.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Josh Mullers from Planet Earth, Logan in particular. Let's see. I gotta look through my notes here. They're pretty. Oh, I'm disorganized. Sorry about this. Let's see. I'll get it. Just being an activist. Actually, yeah, here it is. I was going over the general plan on the site, and I couldn't help but realize that there were some coincidences with the general plan, you know, the terminology and that thing that actually reflected a lot like when I was reading some of these developers, the way they word their business, you know, mottos and things like that. Very, very similar when it comes to the wording and stuff like that. Let's see. Sorry, my ADHD keeps getting me. I was looking at this general plan and I was thinking maybe you should rewrite some of it. Especially, let's see, when it comes to, sometimes referred to as the master plan, which the general plan is. I think you should go back to the master plan, stating it as the master plan, because literally it's, I think most of the citizens of Logan City are, you know, I think they're more, they are more respected as, I forgot the term, sorry, subjects. Also, when it says the plan has its roots in citizen input and public participation, it would be nice to know just what citizen participation and public input it is, because most of what I've seen or heard, you know, has more of investors. I think the more investors of these high-density units is more represented than actually the citizens in Logan, because there's been a lot of opposition that has just gone, you know, out the window. And I full-heartedly agreed with this young lady here when she just got up and said, yeah, there needs to be something done. I mean, yeah, when you take the cemetery grounds and then you develop it, which access on 14th North, and then you turn around and put 346 units on the corner of 14th and Main and 2nd East, you're going to get some traffic problems. I mean, the census has stated that a family dwelling is going to have 2 cars. We're looking at about 700 cars in this location, and the only access that they're going to have is literally heading east onto 14th North or 2nd East in front of the school.
Josh, it's been 3 minutes.
What's that?
It's been 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Since you guys aren't answering questions as of last week, if you guys are interested, just check the footage from last week and it'll clear that up for you guys since you're not directly answering questions. You get to, if you feel like dismayed because of that, you get to come up here and just sort of run your own little narrative since they can't feed back any response, or they can cut you off. That does seem a little rude when you're addressing these issues. Anyways, I'm here because
Can you, before you get rolling, can you please make sure you identify?
my name is Matthew Fatuesi. Sorry, Logan. So I would very much like to first state that I'm here because I am currently asking for a raise as a janitor, getting minimum wage at like barely minimum wage, whatever, like, and that's your guys' minimum wage since it still doesn't cover cost of living for part-time work. So just over January, the inflation was 3.1%, and that's very sucky when you're not making a lot of money and it's still not enough to cover ends and everything like that. Like, I feel like somebody working for the city shouldn't be needing food stamps in the first place. But man, there's so much to address. Like, dealing with traffic and everything like that on that 1400 North, we can easily just worry about public transportation and doubling down on that and decreasing the density of cars and everything like that, especially if we're working on high density housing. When it comes to, I don't know, just you guys' lack of wanting to answer questions either, it's pretty silly, I feel like, especially when we have very little time, especially when we're barely making ends meet. That's supposed to be our own time, and we have to relegate it to making sure that you guys are not forgetting us and aren't too fixated on that profit motive, that sweet profit motive. Other things I'd love to be interested in hearing questions on, but I won't be getting any answers, is like, how did that fundraising meeting with Ukraine ex-Prime Minister President go with Wasatch Group last year? I mean, I'd be curious to know why we're interfering with international affairs or anything like that instead of, just addressing it or relegating it to federal levels and, protests and the like. But again, these are the kinds of things that we're not going to get direct answers in the 3 minutes in a conversational manner that we tend to communicate better with, or at least you guys seem to do. And you're deliberately cutting that off. Anyways, whatever. I'm rambling because there's just too many issues, and you guys are only ever giving us 3 minutes and not even any feedback in that 3 minutes. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Matthew.
Remind everybody.
Hello, it's me, Bill. I'm back.
Bill,
With my
what's your
written
last
wisdom.
name, Bill?
Bill Bauer.
Thank you.
Since I haven't been here for a while, I just want a little clarification. Items B and C, do we get to talk 3 minutes on each one of those?
You are allowed 3 minutes during this time.
Okay, what about during these?
During public hearings, everybody is allowed 3 minutes to speak to a
Okay.
public hearing.
Because I'm a big fan of knowing the rules so I can figure out how to pervert them. And, all right, now, I am prone to swear without knowing I'm swearing, so just tell me I'm swearing, and I'll be back for B and C.
Hello, City Council members and Mayor. My name is Caleb Scholl from Logan. I'm back about the canal, everyone's favorite topic here. I just want to say thank you, because I know this is a topic that's been fatigued. I'm talking about the entrance on 400 North and 600 East. And going back through news articles and stuff, I know the city's worked hard at making progress and doing everything they can. It's the little section that's preventing everyone else. So as I run each day, I am grateful for the city and just everything that you've done to build amazing trails in this city. But one point of clarification I wanted to make from last meeting, because I didn't have time to reach out or talk with the mayor or anything like that, but something, and I know, I do want to state that I know this isn't an easy, just simple thing, you know, you go and you make things happen. I know that it takes time and it's hard. But something that the mayor stated was that there's two issues that are at hand here. So, and I'm going to talk about the second issue that she talked about, or two resolutions that you're working on. But and this is quotes from what the mayor said was, you know, Utah is a private land state. And I don't, this has nothing to do with private land. As a tax-paying citizen in Logan, I'm all for private land, right? I just had to go through a year ago with the city eminent domain, and today I saw our trees are tagged, ready to get taken down. So I get private land, and that's not what I feel like this is about. This is about a public access point that has been there for many years. And it's been unobstructed, right? People have been able to use this cross that driveway for many years. I 100% agree that Utah's a private land state, but we're not even talking about private land here. We're talking about the public access point, the public rights. And what I asked the city to do is to file a declaratory judgment with the district court. What I've heard is, well, in the past we've looked at this. This is something we've looked at in the past. I've never seen any action taken. Hey, we've actually filed something with the district court, and this is what they told us. You know, that's why you go to trial. They say, hey, try this, and I understand there's potentially a lot of money involved with it and things like that, but what I ask is that the city either makes a resolution to file declaratory judgment, or they say, hey, do you know what, this is something we don't want to fight for the citizens. We don't care about the private rights. I spoke with the previous mayor of the town I grew up in, and it was a bigger city than here, and he's also a real estate attorney, and I asked him, what would you do in this situation? Here's this access point, it's been used by the public, and some guy comes and he builds a fence and blocks it off. And he said, honestly, if I were in that situation, it's as the city's main responsibility is to protect the public. That's their responsibility, right? As city council members and as the mayor, your responsibility is to protect the public. That's what I'm asking you to do here. The other thing he said he would do is he would have the city attorney put a cease and desist on the fence and say, hey, as a city, we're not going to stand for people just doing whatever they want. This is a questionable area. We don't know who actually is. The owner doesn't have the land to it. So why isn't the city taking action? So my two questions for you are, what precedents are you going to set for the city? Are you going to allow people to just put up fences wherever they want? And the other question is, are you going to fight for the public right of the citizens? This is not private, but we're talking about private right. And thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Caleb. Anybody else? So I also just like to remind everybody here, all of the city council members' emails are on our website along with our phone numbers. The mayor's information is accessible. I understand this is an opportunity for you to do this publicly, but please, please, if you have an issue, email us, call us. That is what we're here for. So just a reminder that that's always accessible to you. At this time, I'd like to turn the time over for mayor and staff reports, and this evening, Mayor Holly Danes is going to be providing the State of the City address.
Good evening. I'm delighted to present the State of the City message. I've just completed my 6th year as mayor. As I reflect on what we've accomplished, especially this last year, I'm so grateful for the support of the city council members and the fine work of our excellent executive team, along with the city's dedicated employees. Running the city is truly a team effort. I'll share highlights from each department framed in the context of my administration's goals. When I ran for mayor, I promised 4 things: fiscal responsibility, downtown revitalization, focus on infrastructure, and enhance and connect city trails and parks. Number 1, fiscal responsibility. The budget is how you get things done. The finance department has practiced years of good financial management by budgeting conservatively and setting aside funds for future projects. That philosophy, combined with a great economy, has positioned us to make major investments in capital projects and infrastructure, all while balancing our budget and maintaining a good fiscal position. This year, the economy has slowed and sales tax is down, so we will be reducing our capital budget and being more conservative this year. We appreciate our IT department, which is part of finance. They've been laser focused on addressing increasing threats to our cybersecurity and have upgraded training, procedures, and software. The second goal is downtown revitalization, and we've made excellent progress. We opened the beautiful new Carol and Jim Love Plaza in September, and Parks opened the skating rink in November with festive holiday activities on Center Street and the plaza. There's just a little video you can watch. This was from the ribbon cutting day back in September. Fun to see. Anyway, and then council, with the festive holiday activities, Councilmember Mark Anderson got sponsors for fireworks. And you can see from this photo, it's a fabulous end to the celebration. And the ice rink has been a great success. We've had over 11,000 skaters use the rink. Our parks team will program fun, free activities in the plaza all summer for the public to enjoy. We have a generous sponsor who offered to underwrite a series of concerts on the stage, and the team has lots of other great ideas as well. The new library is a wonderful accomplishment for our library patrons and for downtown. We'll cut the ribbon and open the library on Monday, March 4th. This is another project where generous donors enabled us to add extras which we couldn't have afforded otherwise. The Hanson Sisters Foundation contributed $1 million for the children's area, allowing us to put in the beautiful wood, trees, and mural. This slide shows a sneak preview. Another needed capital project due to its age and seismic condition is the new fire station, made possible by $10 million in funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. It's a beautiful brick building that enhances historic downtown. We'll soon be scheduling public tours before we put the station into active service. It is our busiest fire station and is perfectly situated for its service area. The old fire station building is under contract, and the buyers plan to renovate it for an attractive project including restaurant, retail, and office space, adding more activity to the charming Church and Federal area. Our Public Works Department has managed all of the projects listed above and spent countless hours working with the contractors. There are so many details involved, and we appreciate their efforts. Pedestrian can use our mid-block walkway all the way from the library to Center Street, making downtown an active pedestrian destination with good options and following our downtown-specific plan. We also have quality new housing downtown to further our goal of having people live, work, and play downtown. In summary, with vision and strategic investment, the core of our historic downtown has significant generational improvements which will benefit our citizens for years in the future. Again, thanks to the City Council members for their shared vision. I think we deserve an A+ on that goal. Goal number 3 is a focus on infrastructure. In addition to the projects downtown, kudos to our Public Works Department for their other infrastructure projects. Public Works multiple divisions include engineering, GIS mapping, streets, water, and then fleets and shops, and the facilities team. It's our largest city department. They keep the water flowing, sewer headed to the treatment plant, streets repaired and plowed, vehicles operating, and buildings maintained, and GIS keeps track of all our infrastructure. Public Works adopted a new transportation master plan and negotiated with the railroad to upgrade 2 intersections on 600 West with new signals and safety features at 1400 and 1800 North. If you've driven the new road and bridge at 100 West, which merges with US 8991, you've likely blessed them for that excellent project, which was a $12 million multi-year project. The bridge was a major undertaking and includes a new 12-inch water line over the river. The next project beginning this spring is 10th North from 50 East by about PetSmart to 250 West with widening, intersection improvements, and a new signal at 200 West. This is also a challenging project with lots of small pieces of land to acquire from different owners for right-of-way. And we may have forgotten, but last winter we had the most snowfall ever recorded in Logan with 134 inches. Normal is 55 inches. Snowplow drivers plowed the entire city an average of every 3 days. It brought a spring with extremely high water flows, and Public Works managed 24-hour river watch efforts and monitoring of pumps at DeWitt Springs. This was to ensure runoff did not get into the culinary collection area to keep our drinking water source safe. And they also coordinated the filling of 50,000 sandbags as well. The water department made structural repairs to one of our deep culinary water wells and repaired 57 emergency water leaks after hours. Other stats: streets placed over 3,000 square yards of chip seal to make our roads last longer, replaced 1,400 feet of sidewalk to fix hazards, upgraded 40 ADA corners, and installed 7 rapid flashing pedestrian beacons at crossings. These are just a few examples of our constant work on infrastructure, either creating new or maintaining and upgrading our existing assets. Goal number 4 is to enhance and connect city trails and parks. The Parks and Recreation Department has a wide variety of responsibilities, from the 53-acre cemetery to the 162-acre golf course, which was named one of the 9 best public golf courses in Utah for 2023, the Aquatic Center, which recorded over 15,000 patrons last summer, and for 1 additional year, the Rec Center. Our joint operation of the Rec Center will terminate June 30th of 2025 to allow the school district to accommodate more high school sanctioned sports and other student needs at Logan High School. Parks and Rec is rethinking how they provide indoor recreation programs as we transition out of this facility, which has been a great partnership for 48 years. The cemetery staff coordinated hundreds of volunteers to paint a good portion of the perimeter fence on 10th North, clean up pine cones and needles, and clean headstones. This was a massive undertaking, and they will be asking for volunteers this summer to finish painting the remainder of the fence. We appreciate volunteers. Park staff also take care of our many wonderful parks and trails and provide activities for our citizens, which help create a sense of community, including the traditional 4th and 24th of July events, Center Street Halloween Festival, and Christmas events. They help with the Great Pumpkin Way Off as well. Some exciting news for parks this year was a $750,000 grant from the state's Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Program. It will help fund the new Logan Outdoor Recreation Complex. Parks also applied for 1 large RAPS grant to provide matching funds for the complex and received $450,000 from RAPS last year. This park is in cooperation with the Environmental Department as they close the Logan landfill. There is nearly 200 acres of land that was part of the landfill and protection zone, which will be repurposed into recreation space. In addition to providing the land, significant funding for this project is coming from the Environmental Department as part of their diligent stewardship of funds over many years, planning for the landfill closure. We are grateful for their excellent management. A park this large will likely be a 10-year project, but phase 1, beginning this summer, will commence with the installation of the road, a Woodruff neighborhood park, a 60-acre competition disc golf course, keeping much of the existing natural landscaping and wetlands, and an 11-acre dog park. So that's basically what's south, 200 South, which runs through the park. Trails will connect all areas of the complex and tie into both the city and county trails master plan. Phase 2, in a few years, will turn the landfill trash hill into a 90-acre mountain bike park, and other phases will come later. Another trail-related project coming soon is the bridge across the river at Trapper Park, so we can access the 47-acre grant-funded conservation easement along the Logan River. Parks received a RAPS grant to pay for bridge design and subsequently another grant for construction. The next step is to seek funding to put in the trail. Staff also built new restrooms at Trapper Park and paved the parking lot. We get excellent marks in this area as well as we focused on the goal of expanding and connecting parks and trails. I've mentioned the Environmental Department and their key role in closing the landfill and transitioning much of their land to recreation space. They too manage a large portfolio with solid waste collection, wastewater treatment, and the new composting facility, landfill management, and the forestry division, which does everything from trimming and planting trees to mosquito abatement to handling Christmas lights and decor. The forestry division, working with parks, received a $300,000 grant to help with new tree plantings, replace aging trees, and help with tree inventory. Environmental did an excellent job downsizing our solid waste collection program last October and assisted other cities as they transitioned to private collection. We sold 17 garbage trucks and all containers used by other cities to the new entities. Because our dedicated employees worked a tremendous amount of overtime during the transition, we reduced our personnel by 17 equipment operators through attrition and retirement without laying off any personnel. We are now right-sized to serve our citizens. We will continue to receive solid and green waste from the entire county and operate the transfer station at the Logan landfill. They've also opened another cell at the North Valley landfill. The Environmental Department manages the wastewater treatment plant, which is now operating at full capacity and serves 6 other cities. It has outstanding effluent quality, surpassing permit requirements, demonstrating the city's commitment to environmental standards. They secured a $5 million grant for the design of a 4th bioreactor for the plant, which will be needed shortly to accommodate future growth. As part of effectively using biosolids from the treatment plant, they've also built a new composting facility utilizing a $4 million grant, which facilitates increased diversion of green waste from the landfill. Once mixed with solids from the plant, it produces nutrient-rich compost for landscaping and agricultural use. I mentioned the library building earlier, but wanted to acknowledge that with a reduced staff squeezed into a temporary facility, library staff added over 1,500 new library cards for patrons, checked out 195,000 physical items, many of which they walked out to patrons in their car, presented 225 library programs in creative locations, and digital programs with over 24,000 participants. Once the new library opens, patrons can check out a telescope, spiral jetty backpack, blood pressure kit, kids stress kit, Chromebook or Wi-Fi hotspot, in addition to their wonderful collection of books. Folks will be able to use the new community rooms, makerspace, and more. As part of the move to the new building, library staff handled each and every one of the 113,000 print and AV items in their collection. I also have to thank both the library staff and all the other employees at the service center for patiently accommodating the temporary situation for nearly 2 years. With everyone in cramped quarters, it was a real effort to keep the library operating and to save the city money and keep our other programs operating. I'm so impressed with our staff that everyone works together for the greater good. The Light and Power Department also has some major infrastructure projects underway. In the last year, they brought online 2 new substations to keep up with growing demand and have started a 2-year project to add 10 megawatts of natural gas generation. The generators will help balance the significant addition of solar power in our portfolio because it can ramp up quickly when variable renewables go offline. Light and Power is relocating a transmission line on 10th North to accommodate the road widening project and upgrading conductors on the 400 East line to the hospital to handle larger loads. They've also contracted for sediment removal at Second Dam to facilitate more hydropower. Sediment is getting in our hydro intakes and damaging equipment. Looking forward, we've signed power purchase agreements for 2 potential geothermal projects, as well as for additional solar power, some with battery storage, if they all develop as planned. We've hired a consultant to produce an integrated resource plan to assist the city in accomplishing its renewable energy roadmap goal. The plan will examine modeling and costs for the city to achieve carbon-free power at the level of 50%, 75%, and 100% in the next 10 years. Our Economic Development Director continues to work with our legal team and spearheaded the redevelopment of the aging Cache Valley Mall. We worked with Logan School District and Cache County to create the 1400 North Main Community Reinvestment Project Area, which will include a major national retailer, other commercial space, and housing. We anticipate demolition of the mall within the next few months. The construction will include all new infrastructure, and there will be a new traffic signal at 200 East and 1250 North as part of the project. Economic development has also been heavily involved in the construction of the Log Plaza and in assisting significant housing projects downtown to get folks living, working, and shopping downtown. Community development also has a wide range of responsibilities, from planning commission and historic preservation to building permits, plan review, building inspection, and code enforcement. They've updated our code with new landscaping and usable outdoor space requirements, critical lands requirements, and planned development overlay standards. They received a grant to help fund the new general plan update, which will begin this year. They're tasked with implementing the public art master plan and have coordinated several art installations recently, including 2 on the library plaza because we had funds from donors, but there are more potential projects on the way. Providing public safety, which is police and fire service for our citizens, is a huge part of what cities do. Our public safety employees are selfless individuals who do amazing work to serve our community. Let's start with police. We have 94 employees, which includes patrol, school resource officers, investigations, including the drug task force, administration, and dispatch. Police responded to over 22,000 total incidents in 2023, with 2,400 arrests. Of those, officers had 215 DUI arrests, making our streets safer for all. One stat we're very proud of is with over 35,000 contacts, there were only 91 incidents of use of force. And I have to say, we define use of force much more rigidly than the federal government. If we went by federal standards, we would have only had 2 incidents of use of force. The council members and I review camera footage of all use of force incidents monthly, and we're continually reminded of the difficult situations our officers have to deal with and their professionalism. The reviews also serve as training opportunities, continuing to improve officers' skills in stressful situations. One big concern is calls related to mental health subjects have doubled in the last 5 years to nearly 700 in 2023. It takes a lot of our officers' time. The Investigations Division participates with 75 other agencies statewide on Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. They received the Agency of the Year Award for their work in combating child pornography and trafficking cases, including arrest of several men who came to Logan attempting to meet up with children to sexually assault them to learn they had been texting with an undercover officer. Our 911 dispatch team serves the entire valley and continues to coordinate all calls for public safety personnel countywide with calm professionalism. The fire department is thrilled to move into the new station soon, which will give them space to house training for their entire team. They have 68 full and 11 part-time employees divided between 4 stations. In 2023, they responded to nearly 6,000 fire and EMS calls, which means almost 11,000 apparatus responses to be prepared for any situation. EMS added a new advanced certification of critical care paramedic with higher level skills in difficult airway management, medications, and cardiac care. Overall, personnel logged over 15,000 hours of required training for the year to keep certifications current and stay on top of best practices. They received a donated heavy rescue unit from the state, and with some upgrades have put it into service to use for a wide range of technical rescues such as ice, confined space, trench, swift water, and structural collapse. Last spring, the fire department also worked with Public Works in coordinating the emergency management efforts on flood mitigation and risk reduction with sandbagging and other efforts. It was a team effort. These fire and EMS crews respond to many difficult incidents nearly every day, which can have an impact on their mental health and well-being. The department received a grant of over $150,000 to provide mental health services for all current Logan Fire employees and their families, as well as retirees. The city is also proactive in providing that opportunity for police officers as well. Our city employees are our most valuable resource, and the Human Resources Department is a great liaison for those employees. In 2023, we were able to give good raises, and when our medical premiums increased by 15%, we didn't pass that cost to employees, but covered the entire amount. HR does monthly wellness challenges to promote health and well-being, and the annual employee appreciation luncheon, golf tournament, and a 5K run walk, which you can see for all employees and families. They also help employees navigate retirement and insurance issues as needed. We want our employees to be safe, and our legal department handles risk management and safety initiatives. With the combined efforts of all city departments and employees, Logan City has maintained a track record 25% below state and national averages on accidents and injuries, which results in significant savings on insurance and, more importantly, safer employees. Our legal department also handles hundreds of contracts and other details every year with all city departments. We appreciate their work as well. The city recorder keeps track of thousands of important city documents, is the liaison with city council members, and takes care of all their agendas, noticing, and then oversees the minutes. The state requires us to contract with the county for city elections, but the city recorder is responsible for candidate filing, election notices, and working with candidates throughout the election as the point of contact. In summary, with the support of the council members, executive team, and our outstanding city employees, we, as a team, have accomplished a great deal. All our departments work well together to achieve common goals. It's easy to recognize and notice the big project, but we're mindful of always trying to do better and be better in providing services for our citizens and value for the taxpayers. We truly work to be good stewards of the funds we're entrusted with to run the city, provide services to our citizens, and help all of us enjoy an outstanding quality of life here in Logan. It has been a great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Daines, for your address as well as for your service to our community, not just for these past 6 years, but for the previous 8 as well. So thank you very much. Anything else from?
No, we'll now turn the time over to Dr. Courtney Flint, who will talk a little bit about the Logan Wellbeing Survey. And we appreciate the data that she provides to the city to help us work on many of these goals.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. While Russ pulls up the slides here today, I just want to say it's been wonderful to partner with Logan City for so many years on the Logan Wellbeing Project. Just share a couple of things about the project. So we're going to launch this project here shortly. So if you just click down on this right down there, that one right there will go up to the slides. Perfect. Thank you. And you go to the next one. So, at Utah State University is the land-grant university in the state, and I take that very seriously. And in direct in the Utah Wellbeing Project, we have a couple of key goals. We work to provide cities with information on the well-being of their residents, to inform planning processes and decisions, and to really help you keep your finger on the pulse of the residents and their changing perspectives and experiences and concerns. We also do research with these data on community well-being, and we also increasingly work with other statewide initiatives such as Get Healthy Utah, the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget, UDOT's TravelWise program, and others as it relates to community and environmental well-being. And so the next slide. We have worked with 43 partners in prior years. We have 43 city partners ready to launch surveys this spring in 2024. And in the past years, back to 2019, we've collected over 25,000 surveys from residents in Logan and in all other parts of the state with across 48 cities. Now we're going to be over 60 cities that we will have partnered with. As you can sort of see from the map, we're all over the state, but of course we're most proud to be working and partnering with you here in Logan, our hometown, for USU. Next slide. So Logan's survey pretty much launches today. The city will be rolling out advertising materials so that all adult residents can respond to this survey. It's just going to be an open opportunity. We will work with the data to be very transparent about who responds and who doesn't. And so we're really excited to launch this Utah Wellbeing Survey here shortly. This will take a couple of clicks, so go ahead and click. So it's an online survey. We have it in English and in Spanish. We handled the development of the survey, the analysis of the data, and the reporting back to you, and hopefully just in a couple of months. And as a partnership, the city handles the advertising. We feel that each of the cities we partner with know best how to reach their residents, and this is how we can keep the costs low on the project. Next. I will provide the reports. I'll bring them back here to City Council to present, and we'll make them publicly available to residents as well. It is a no-cost partnership with the city. While we do take funding contributions, they are welcome, but they are not required. We don't ever want funding to be a barrier to any city or town participating in the project. And then next, so the planned advertising in Logan, hopefully we'll have it in the mayor's newsletter. They'll use social media. Neighborhoods meetings will be an important way to get the word out, and other efforts, and we encourage everyone here to spread the word about the survey as it comes your way. We'll also be tracking responses this year by the mode of advertising, so you'll be able to learn where you're getting the most bang for your buck in terms of the different kinds of ways to reach residents, and we'll report back on those numbers and their demographics. We have a lot of areas that the survey covers, and I won't go through all of them, but everything about well-being, activities that people are involved in, their perspectives on growth. Transportation section is new this year, a variety of concerns. We have open-ended comments for people to share their own input. We ask some demographic questions so that we can be very transparent about who we're hearing from and who we're not. And we have a variety of well-being categories that we track and have been tracking for Logan over time. Logan's been involved almost every year we've done the survey since the beginning. That's giving us a nice basis to look at trends. The next slide. This year we're asking about the neighborhoods that respondents live in so that you can actually understand how the perspectives might be varying within the city itself. And then next. We continue to develop online resources to help address these key well-being areas, and we will be rolling that out. And hopefully soon with funds we hope to receive from USU Extension, we'll be combining it with extension efforts around health and well-being so that we can take the data and match it with resources and opportunities to help address some of our critical issues. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for being a partner on the Wellbeing Survey, and you can look for resources and about advertising the survey and the links and so forth that will be coming with the help of some of the city staff here in the coming weeks, and then I'll be back to report on the results. So we're just so grateful to have the partnership, and thank you.
So Dr. Flynn, how long will the survey be open for?
The survey, actually, Logan's going to be a little unique. We have a hybrid approach. We're going to do a concerted approach with all of our advertising modes for 3 or 4 weeks, but we know that City of Logan will have some neighborhood meetings that may be happening over the coming months, and then we will keep the survey open to allow for those events to happen, because they're going to be important targeted efforts to get feedback from various parts of the city. So generally 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll allow those city meetings to help add to the survey data. Okay? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Anything else, Holly? Okay. All right, we'll now move on to council business. First, we'll start with the Planning Commission update from Councilmember Simmons.
The Planning Commission last meeting dealt with 3 issues, 2 of which are on our workshop agenda, so I won't talk too much about those. The last one was a potential cell tower on the west side of town in a park. It had been continued from an earlier meeting. They asked the Verizon people to find a different location. They decided the location they picked the first time was the right one, and the Planning Commission wasn't very pleased with that decision, so there was a lot of discussion, and they ended up asking if they could put it in a parking lot location and asked them to go back to the drawing board and try harder. So it has been continued yet again. So that's all.
Now we'll do our council, board, and committee reports. Ernesto, would you like to start?
Sure. I was able to join a few of our meetings. The ones that I like to share on are the Power and Light Board and also the Library Board. And at the Power and Light Board, we had, I believe it was the CEO from the Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, the UAMs that we often refer to. And he just shared about various things, kind of like a state of the UAMs per se. Some of the challenges and kind of the balancing act of the increase of demand while maintaining a cost-effective offer of the electricity to our constituents. And so, I mean, there was a lot that was shared. Very brief, just kind of that. About the library, of course, everybody's excited about the grand opening on March 4th at 11 a.m. We also had a great presentation on the history of the library, how it dates back all the way to 1877, and with the Brigham Young College and the Agricultural College. So looks like most of the library staff has moved into the library and that they have made tremendous progress preparing for the grand opening.
Mike?
Sure. There's three that I want to discuss. We had the audit committee met about 3 weeks ago. I met with the finance department, and I think everything looked great. There really wasn't any concerns that I saw in that meeting. Everything was looking good there. And then we had the renewable energy board met about 2 weeks ago, and I think the big update there is they're still looking at the fast chargers and putting some electric vehicle charging downtown. So they're still looking at locations specifically on that, and options of that, but I think there should be progress there soon. And then Parks and Rec met recently, and then we had another meeting today discussing possibilities of, I know a lot of the county and other cities are looking at rec centers, so that's kind of been a big discussion. And so there, I think the big movement there is other cities and the county are looking at doing a feasibility study. They'll probably be asking us to be involved in as that moves forward. So, but that's about it.
Thanks, appreciate that. So just a couple quick things. Public art meeting, there, just so people know, there is a call for artists for a mural to go up on the wall of somebody's attic. So if you know any artists who would be interested in that, that's due March 5th. Aaron, can they get in touch with you if they have questions? So get in touch with Aaron if you have questions on that. We also talked about looking at potential partnering for a mural in Merlin Olsen Park along one of those tunnels. The Hillcrest Community or Neighborhood Council is planning to meet in early April, so I'm appreciative that Dr. Flint said that survey will stay open so that community can be informed of that. And then for the Bear River Local Homeless Council, so people are aware that funding from the State Office of Homeless Services, applications for that are going to be due March 30th. That funding covers the Tri-County area for governmental and non-governmental entities and agencies. And for this year, those funds will be $1,080,000. It is a 3-year cycle. And so those intent to apply is coming up quickly on that. So those are the 3 board and committee reports that I have today. So I think it's good that everyone is aware that there are other things going on besides these meetings on this evening. So if you have any questions about any of the boards or committees, again, on our website, there's a list of who serves on those, so please feel free to connect with them. So if you have a question about Parks and Rec, you can contact Mike. Actually, Library, Ernesto and I are both on that. Jeannie's on like 5 million of our committees. I think she doesn't know how to say no.
Then I'll stick my nose in everywhere
Anyway,
else.
yeah. And Mark's got
Economic development,
a couple of golf, et cetera. So if you have ideas or suggestions or questions, reach out to us. Solid waste.
It's my favorite.
Super fun.
It is. It's really interesting.
I think I've never been served on that one for a reason. We'll now move on to action items tonight. We do have 3 public hearings. The first one is Resolution 24-04, which is a budget adjustment appropriating $32,635 towards the purchase of new EMS equipment. Rich, do you have anything else to add on that?
No.
Perfect.
Yes.
I can clarify, this is coming from the ambulance that was wrecked and the equipment that was in the ambulance that the plan is to use while we have another one on order. This will help replace some of the equipment we need for this new station.
Fair enough.
Any questions from any members for Rich? All right, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to come and speak to Resolution 24-204, please come to the microphone, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, I think this is a good idea that we're going to be in compliance with the state, local laws and policies.
Bill, we're talking about budget adjustment now. I think you want to talk about the alcohol policy, so give us a minute. We'll move on to that after this one.
I guess I'm suffering SFS.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Anybody care to speak to Resolution 2404? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
I move we approve Resolution 2404.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
No.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 2404 passes. Our next action item is the public hearing on ordinance 24-03. Aaron, can you walk us through that one?
How much do you want me to walk through? Maybe I can just,
Maybe just a quick overview. I know when we did the workshop, we combined the two, so I know we need to address these separately. So maybe if you want to just make sure people understand which sections we're talking about for each of these two.
Ordinance 2403 is the Land Development Code ordinance. The most pertinent here thing is the land use table. This is the updated land use table that shows the alcohol uses and some of the changes. I do want to make one correction from my presentation last time. I hadn't updated the alcohol small brewery, distillery, or winery. I had left it at alcohol small brewery, which was what it was originally proposed at, but it was changed by the Planning Commission. So I just want to make that note. That had been updated after the last meeting and updated in your guys' packet, that I wanted to update it to the public.
So those items in yellow are what are the changes?
Are highlighting most of the changes. Main adjustments here are adding a few new uses. That's the tap room, that's the small manufacturing in association with a bar or tavern. Also two different levels of brewery or brewery, distillery, winery. That's a general brewery, distillery, winery, which would be conditionally permitted in the industrial park. Then as I mentioned, that small brewery, distillery, or winery would be permitted in the commercial services and the industrial park. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So just for the sake of everyone, what's the difference between alcohol brewery, distillery, or winery being conditionally approved in the industrial park and a alcohol small brewery, distillery, or winery being permitted?
The scale of the small brewery, winery, or distillery is 10,000 square feet of production space. So that's we're already conditioning it, we're making it smaller. That's the gross floor area is already reduced for that one.
No. So why is it conditioned in one? The
one that's conditioned could be any scale.
Okay, so it's bigger than.
It's bigger than small.
Bigger than 10,000 square feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Bigger than small.
So the other ones are the same size or a different size? Is everything larger in the first line?
Yeah.
Like more alcohol, more brewery, more distillery, more winery?
And thus on the scale for an industrial area.
Okay. But it's permitted if it's small?
Yeah.
Thank you.
In the commercial service zone.
No.
And
industrial park. That's why I was.
There it is. Okay.
No, it's right there, and I was like, oh.
But the cutoff is 10,000 square feet.
Yeah,
That's correct.
so, just so people understand that part.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Aaron? Okay, so if somebody would like to speak to ordinance 24-03, this is a public hearing. This is on this section. So if you have comments about 2404, we will get to that after this. So this is a public hearing on the land use table, basically. So if you'd like to come and speak to this, come to the microphone, state your name, where you live, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm back again. Bill Bauer.
Thank you, Bill.
Do I really got to tell where I live? I already got enough people.
You
here.
can say you live in Logan. It's just that you live in Logan.
Logan.
It's adequate.
If the ordinance allows it, we should do it. I'm not a fan of spurious or specious arguments about religion or culture or things like that. As long as we have the parking, it's not a public danger, as long as the laws are enforced fairly and evenly, I'm for it. Doesn't mean I'm going to go there. I do drink alcohol. I'm rather peculiar about what I drink. I like Irish and Scottish stuff that is hard to pronounce, and it's 12 years old.
At a minimum.
Thank you, Bill.
My name is Casey Trout. I live in Logan, and I just wanted to voice my support for the proposed changes in this ordinance.
Thank you, Casey.
Dr. Gail B. Yost, my question has to do with the people who are running this or serving in these subsidiaries of alcohol. Do they all have to have training in when to say no? Do they all know when to be very assertive in telling people that they've had enough? These must be part of the laws, I presume, but I'm asking if that really happens.
Can I answer that? Sure. So, server training is handled by the DAVS, and over-serving and those sort of things are all handled through their training. They're very strict and very well organized on that matter, as well as enforcing on sales to minors, those sort of things. They actually have sting operations, where they send people in to buy booze. But that's all handled through the DAVS, and they coordinate actually with enforcement with the local PD.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to be sure of that because my specialty is adolescents, and I do not want to see adolescents starting before they're adults. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Yost. Would anyone else care to speak to ordinance 24-03, the land use table?
My name is Nick Benoit from Logan, and I just wanted to voice support for adopting the updated ordinance. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick.
Hi, I'm Daniela Hirschfeld. I'm also a resident of the city of Logan, and I wanted to voice my support for the amendment.
Thank you, Daniela.
My name is Anna Rogar. I'm also a resident of Logan, and I would like to also voice my support for this.
Thanks, Anna.
Mike Rogar, resident of Logan, and also would like to voice my support for this.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else? Seeing nobody, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Aaron, did any of the changes become more restrictive?
I should probably have comment first, like discussion.
No, the changes from the planning commission you're referring to were generally less restrictive or returning to where they already were. So nothing went Yeah, it mostly returned to we proposed a few restrictions on bars and taverns, right? Just keep it as it is in those areas. Nothing became more restrictive now.
Thank you.
So I would move approval of ordinance 24-03.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of ordinance 24-03, signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance 24-03 passes. Let's move on to ordinance 24-04, Aaron.
So this is the municipal business licensing code section. Pretty extensive rewrite here. It changes a few definitions. The administrative process is how we go through application, how we review, how we approve, just sort of that timeline. It also updates several local restrictions. We removed restrictions that we just discussed on manufacturing. That was very narrowly defined, only for a brew restaurant. Suppose I go to a slide on this. You want me to put up a slide?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Here they are. So as I mentioned, we liberalize the manufacturing. We allow more opportunity there. Notable changes: the brew restaurant definition changes from just only on-site consumption to primarily on-site consumption, just to allow for more flexibility for brew restaurants and tap rooms to distribute their product that they manufacture. This is where we define what a tap room is as well. So this would be a small manufacturer in a bar or tavern. This one's limited to 5,000 square feet and is only permitted in town center. There's also a proposal to lower the restrictions on the number of taverns. Currently, it's 1 to 20,000 residents. This would change it to 1 to 10,000 residents. That would allow 2 additional licenses, local licenses, to be available. That isn't to say that there's a state license available, but there may be one locally.
And that's the same as the bar license.
That's the
population
same population quota that we have for bars, which we currently have 1 license.
So just to be really clear, even if we say we have 2 licenses, that doesn't mean anything, because if the state doesn't have any, you can't get one anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly correct.
Okay.
And I don't want to get into these. They're actually looking at their quotas right now to perhaps lower them to make more licenses available in the state. Then we also remove a prohibition on package agency. This allows for breweries to sell more directly their product without having to go through the state. Essentially, they give a little bit of their power to the breweries so they can sell their product easier.
And most of these meet or come closer to the state laws right now.
Yeah, that's right. And the package agency is a very good example. It's well regulated by the state. It's well defined by the state. I think we initially kind of adopted a no, we don't want that because it was new, but it's well regulated and understood at that level what those licenses are when they're available.
Okay.
And they even come with proximity restrictions and all those things that we're generally get from the state.
So this would just put us more in line with what the state's doing.
We have a proximity restriction on off-premise beer sales. This is grocery stores, convenience stores. The state no longer has that restriction, so we're proposing to align this with the state again, just remove that restriction.
Okay.
And then we have several sections that didn't have any local restrictions beyond state code, so we were just removing those so they weren't confusing to folks. And that's really that amendment.
Any questions for Aaron?
No, Aaron did a really good
He's
job
very
of
thorough,
explaining it all.
yeah.
Yes.
With the workshop, you did an awesome job.
Okay, seeing no questions from council at this point in time, I will open this up as a public hearing for anybody who would like to speak to ordinance 24-04. Please come to the microphone, your name, where you live, and please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. And again, this is for 2404.
Bill Bauer, I live in Logan. Somebody tell me what heavy beer is.
Aaron?
I can tell. I've had to become educated on that. That's
Aaron's
5% alcohol by volume or greater.
Or greater?
Yep.
So like beer, I used to drink in Germany.
Yes. No, the beer you have to buy at the local liquor store, the state liquor store is that type of beer.
Isn't it over 5 now?
Yeah, 5+. That's just over 5%.
Yeah, because I think 5% can be at the
Yes,
grocery store.
sorry. As soon as I said that, I thought I may have caused some confusion, but over 5% alcohol by volume.
Right.
Okay, I'm also glad to see that they removed the proximity restrictions. I remember years ago, we had the proximity argument of beer at a certain pizza parlor that was across from a certain library. Yes.
Bill, I do want to say the proximity is only for like 7-Eleven sales. It's not, there are still state proximity regulations that are in place for all those other things.
I was thinking that might be the case.
I just didn't want you to get.
Well, what I'm getting at with this is, we dealt with that problem, 15, 20 years ago. At that time, it was pointed out that the library didn't have a front door that you could access from Main Street and everything. But we've dealt with this problem, and I don't think we should have to deal with it again, even though our new library has a front door that goes on Main Street, because apparently Main Street is safer now than it was 15, 20 years ago. I hope if certain businesses come to fruition, we're not going to have we can just say, hey, wait a minute, we've already passed an exception to this. We've dealt with this and not have to have public meetings ad nauseum to deal with a dead horse. I'm in favor of this. I don't think we'll have a problem. I mean, I live pretty close to some bars, and I haven't had any drunks in front of my door yet, although I have got to tell everybody here, my best friend in high school and some other best friends have been killed by drunk drivers and stuff, so I am no fan of drunk drivers, alcoholics, drunk people whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Casey Trout from Logan, and also support this change.
Thanks, Casey.
Nick Benoit from Logan, also voicing support for the change.
Thanks, Nick.
Brian Makanoa, resident of Logan, and I voice my support for this change.
Thank you, Brian.
Anna Rogar, resident of Logan, and I also support this change.
Thanks, Anna.
Mike Rogar, resident of Logan, also support the change.
Thank you, Mike.
Jared Scott, resident of Logan, I support this ordinance.
Thanks, Jared.
Alan Mize, resident of Logan, I also support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nicole Bubalis. I'm a resident of River Heights, but I work in Logan, and I'm also here in support of this amendment, and just want to say that the initiative behind this is brought by two people who have a true and deep love of our city and our valley, and I think it's a beautiful thing that the city is considering this to allow for better and caring businesses to be a part of our community, and especially small businesses. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Anybody else? So for those of you who did come up and speak, please make sure that you do sign in before you leave the meeting today so that Teresa has your names for the record. We would appreciate that. All right, seeing nobody else, I'll bring this back to the council for action. Or questions?
Do you have any questions?
Or comments? Did you?
Comments. I think so.
Did you want to talk to Jeff? You're good on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got some great information from police department, so.
Okay.
Good data.
Okay.
I'll move for acceptance of ordinance 24-04.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of ordinance 24-04 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance 24-04 passes. Thanks, Aaron. I'd just like to give Aaron a shout out too. As this was working through, he made sure that he kept us all up to date and offered to meet with us, and really appreciate the thoroughness with which you approached that. Thank you. Now
It's
we're
a
back-
sticky wicket.
It is a sticky wicket.
And it's,
Oh. Is that a throwback?
sure. But it's, it's complicated by our ordinances, the state. It's just very, very complicated. And I really appreciated Aaron taking the time to really delve into it and become our resident expert.
Very appropriate for us to align our ordinance with the state.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, we will now move on to our workshop items. And Teresa, I'm going to give you a little shout out because you said 6:45 and it's 6:45. Look at us go.
From all the comments.
I mean, we don't need to take 2 hours on the workshops? Okay. All right.
We can.
You can.
Yeah. So Rich, you are first up with the code amendment ordinance 24-07.
So this is a request to make what we believe is a fairly simple change to our ordinance that governs how we disconnect service for utilities and then noticing before we disconnect service. Right now it says written notice. However, we're asking that we strike the word written, although we think it could apply to the way we want to do business. We just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding. So strike the word written, and then we would still provide notice. To our notice, we would intend to provide via phone with the email we have on record, as well as with email. Those are both more efficient, we believe. Right now, we do send a hard copy postcard that isn't great. It can be lost in the mail. It isn't as secure as we would like. We don't say anything unsecure there, but there have been complaints in the past that
Overlooked.
we're sending a postcard. And the reason we're sending a postcard is to save money. But by switching to electronic notification, we'll save $20,000 a year. Which
It's a significant amount.
It's not small and insignificant, but is there a way to ensure that you have acknowledgement of receipt? Like if it's an email?
I think that's my only concern.
No, but there's no way to do that currently with
the mail either.
Yeah, there isn't, yeah.
we've kind of tossed this around and we're in no better, well, actually, we think we're in a better position. We're certainly in no worse.
So if someone comes to us and says, "You never told me,"
We would have a record of sending the email. We'd have a record of sending the phone message. We do send that through our code red, code whatever it is. And that does have a record of kind of if somebody answered and listened or versus they did not. But we don't have any record of whether they received a mailed notice, whether they read it.
but we have record that we sent it.
We do. We have a record of it being printed, but we don't see that they received it any more than.
So this will provide us more proof that they possibly listened to it.
It could be better.
So what about spam filters that usually will block tons of emails or even spam phone calls? I know some people have enacted those.
Not too much we can do about that.
That way you don't get your bill.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay it.
That's how it works. I didn't get it.
I didn't get your bill, I don't have to pay it.
We have many people know our policies and procedures better, if not equally as well as we do. So those people that are one-offs, we do look for those. As we're sending out the notices for shut-off, we'll look and say, this person's never been on the shut-off list. And they paid their bill every time for the last 10 years. So we try to do a little more due diligence there, but it's difficult. So, but if they have a phone number and an email on file with us, they'll get 2 separate ways of being notified. They will have to check their spam, but I hope people do that anyway periodically.
No text messages?
I don't know if we can send text. I'll find out. Problem is the phone number we have on record, although most of them are switching over to be
It could be a landline.
It could be a landline, and many of our older customers have landlines still.
So you probably don't know this answer. What percentage of customers do we have a phone number and an email? You have no idea.
We can probably find that.
It's okay, I was just curious. I have to give you a few hard questions.
Almost everybody has a phone number. Most have an email. For all those that have been set up in the last 10 years, they have an email.
Okay.
But we do have some that were set up, 45 years ago. And it's the same information, same person living there, so we may or may not have great information on those.
Yeah.
But those people also.
So if you get a bounce back, if you get a bounce back on an email, is there going to be a process to mail? If you get a bounce back on an email, is there something we could do with that?
We would probably just try to call.
Okay.
I mean, telephone is by far the best way to get in touch with people. We have people all the time who say, I never got my utility bill, even though you have to print it every month that goes with our house. So snail mail is no more accurate or guaranteed than this. In fact, we believe it's far less on average.
How many disconnects do we have on a weekly basis?
20 to 35 a day, Monday through Thursday.
Wow, it's more than I expected.
Now those are the ones that actually get shut off.
I'd say those are actual disconnections.
Yeah. These are probably a couple hundred a week. A couple hundred a day going on.
You mean you send out potential disconnect notices a couple hundred a day?
For those 4 days, roughly. I'm just guesstimating.
How much is
It's
that?
about $20,000 of postage annually. But, there are some customers that wait until they get that notice before they try to do anything, and that's just their MO.
But it's been noted, the 20,000 is just the postage?
That is just
Postage.
postage, because we print our own.
So it's actually more savings.
There'd be
Because
savings
there's a
of
print.
time, there'd be savings of
Sure, but
printing.
the printing.
The process of sending electronic notification is far more efficient, so there would be a lot of savings as far as that goes, but hard cost savings roughly 20%.
So the transition.
But
Are
I
we
know
planning to
that-
be more lenient during that transition in case people have, I'm just curious. Right, because like some people, you're saying they just wait till they get their bill to pay it. I mean, they get their shut-off notice to pay it, but if they're looking for that in the mail, and you're sending them emails.
I think during the transition, we'll try to work with people as best we can. And the people
That's the answer I'm looking for.
The people who didn't pay the bill and didn't know probably have the funds set aside to pay that bill and take care of it. We'll work with those and be very lenient as we work with them. The people who maybe are in another position, it might be a little more difficult. We'll still work with people.
But you send those out, I mean, being the treasurer of an organization that on occasion forgets to pay the bill on time, they send them out like 2 days after it's due.
So our process is we send a bill 20 days before it's due. 10 days after it's due, we send a notice. About 1 or 2 days later, they'll get their next bill that says, hey, you forgot to pay your bill. And then before we actually shut people off, we do notice as best we can any other way, telephone, email, any other way.
Well, I don't want to get those notices anymore, so I'll be waiting 10 days.
Did you expect this many questions about this resolution?
Sure.
This is why Teresa gave us 2 hours for this.
This was it.
I think that was a misprint on her part. She doesn't want to be here till 8:45.
Any other questions for Rich on
No.
this one?
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Hey, Rich.
Hey.
Guess what? You're next.
One more.
Resolution 2407. This is a budget adjustment.
Request to appropriate $15,000 in a grant we received from the Drug and Alcohol Committee to be used for police equipment. And a request to appropriate $20,000 of fund balance for additional election expenses. For elections, this was my bad. We budget, I think it's $70,000 one year, $70,000 another year. we only have elections every other year, we carry forward those funds. Well, somebody named me forgot to carry those forward, so I apologize.
Okay.
This kind of wraps things up for this last election cycle. Hopefully Teresa reminds me every time, but I somehow forgot it. We'll carry those funds forward next time, and hopefully we'll win this. But I like the way we budget for it, even though it's every other year. We budget the same amount each year rather than trying to approach.
Makes total
Makes it
sense.
consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so can everyone put an asterisk next to that Rich's fault?
Well, it's not proven, but
Can we verify
Not
that?
proven, but admitted.
All right, any questions for Rich on this one? Nope. All right, thank you, Rich. Our next is the consideration of a resolution adopting revised water division classification rates, fines, and fees. Hi, Paul.
I just want you to know this was my first fun meeting at the water board.
Ooh, it sounds exciting. So
I want you to know that was our first fun meeting.
So this is resolution 24-06.
And I also wanted to point out, it's a little bit offensive. We have another discussion on drinking, just because it's about culinary water.
Everybody should know. I know.
As many
You're
people.
right, that isn't quite fair. is
They all
it?
got up and walked
I
out
assume that's why they were here.
I think Rich thought it was
for
going
the
to be about
drinking
the electric
ordinance.
billing.
For the drinking ordinance, yeah.
All right. As Chair Anderson stated, we're going to discuss some adjustments to water fees, fines, and rates. I just passed out, we didn't get until today, it's a letter from our Water, Wastewater, and Stormwater Advisory Board that they discussed the resolution that was coming before you and provided some very valuable feedback, questions, suggestions that we've tried to implement. I believe every one of those, and this is just their letter of support to you for this resolution. We appreciate their efforts in that and attention to detail as well. The ordinance, I will run through it, some slides, the resolution. I will do it in kind of a different order than it's presented in the resolution. First, I want to give a little bit of history. Our rates on Logan City culinary drinking water, just kind of gives a history there. Some of you were on council when we last made a major adjustment to our culinary water rates. It was in 2018. We made a 35% rate adjustment. There hadn't been one for several years. As part of that resolution in 2018, we also passed a 3% inflationary or annual increase to those rates.
So that we never had to do a 35% again.
And the goal and assignment I was given was to never do another 35% increase, and that was the reason we do that. That was a big request, is keep up on smaller rate increases and let's not try to do these big ones anymore.
We've been trying to tell Rich that about property tax, but he's not listening yet.
Fair enough. The last one was in May of 2022, and that was the last approved annual increase as part of that
2018.
resolution.
Okay.
We have not done one since then. That's what we'll discuss tonight as I present those rate increases. Connection fees. In 2016, we added some connection fees that if you did a connection to the water system within a UDOT right-of-way on 10th West on Main Street, we added that the price for that would just be done per installation rather than a set fee. If it cost us $30,000 to do it, the fee would be $30,000. That was the only adjustment since 2014 when a few of the connection fees, that was the last time they were adjusted. When it comes to fees for services and fines, there were a few minor adjustments in 2006. And then the last I could find was a note just saying, from that 2006 ordinance, just saying nothing's been done since 1997. So that was the last time there were a lot of adjustments to the fees or fines, 28 years ago or so, 27. So getting into them, I know there's a lot of information here. It's also in the packet in the resolution. I've got 3 slides that will kind of just go through the fees and present the same information that's in the packet. Also in your packet, there was a one for a description of each one. So if you have questions, I may refer to that, but hopefully that helps
understand how we came up with those. And I'm just going to do it section by section. The first, these fire hydrant meter deposits. You'll find out tonight we are hoping to go kind of away from these, or at least not nearly as common. Contractors will get a fire hydrant meter if they're going to fill a construction water truck. A boring company fills their tankers so they have water on site to do their work. We rent them a meter to put on the fire hydrant so the water they use is metered. This deposit is based on the cost of that meter. If they were to break it, lose it, not return it, we could replace it with their deposit.
Okay.
It's also 100% refundable after their work. That adjustment is just based on, again, the cost of that meter is where that came from. So a 1-inch meter used to cost us $500, now it costs us $1,100.
Wow.
To give you an idea. The violation fines, the next section, 3 of these are new. The first one is damage, that's just price per installation. If damage is done to a meter, the barrel, the lid, the frame, or other water infrastructure, whatever the cost is to fix it is your fine for damaging it. Temporary, only city employees.
And that applies to commercial as well as private residents.
Correct, anything, yep. Per city ordinance, only city employees should operate a water meter turn on and turn off, or a valve turn on and turn off, or a fire hydrant unless they're given a meter. Should we find that a meter or a manhole is tampered with and we find who did it, then there is a fine for that. It was $71. We're proposing to raise that to $100. And you can see that on the next 3, which are new. Theft of unmetered water, illegal sewer dumping fine. That would be open a manhole, put something in it that shouldn't be there or you're not supposed to put there. Or
they're not supposed to ever do that.
Correct.
Is this where the fun came in, speculating on what people might put down in sewers?
That was the pictures and videos.
It's like bring your truck over and go, open the valve.
And the last one being the fire hydrant or fire hydrant valve tampering fine. You can see, again, the associated fines there. One of the recommendations from the Water Advisory Board was, if I understand correctly, Gene, was to charge more, make sure it's has an impact. Mm-hmm. And secondly, that if there's a second offense, double it. Yep. And so we have put that on there.
Yep.
The next.
Can I ask a question? How often do people tamper with or dump sewer illegally?
The hydrant valve tampering fine, in particular, they said that it relates to the hydrant meters. They take the meters, they don't turn the hydrants off the way they're supposed to. It causes a huge problem in the system with backup pressure, and it costs the city a huge amount of money when they don't do it properly, which is why in a minute you're going to see that they want to build something for people not to use the fire hydrants anymore.
Correct. We have a pretty good collection of the keys that you use to do it. Whenever we see one sticking out, we pull over and take it and wait around to see who came and got it. So it's quite often, but not. Okay. Honestly, most of our contractors that are local do a really good job. They know, and we don't really get the penalties going for like the homeowner that didn't know and he was putting in a sprinkler system, and we'll work with them, those kinds of things. But it's not every day, but it's often enough that we would like some more deterrent.
Okay.
The next is the installation fees. Just a couple things I'll point out. You'll notice there's developed and undeveloped. Everybody asks what that is. If you build a home and your contractor installs the water service to your home, installs the meter barrel, installs the line, everything, calls us and says, I want a meter, we go out and just install the meter, that's a developed. There is an option in here, very seldom used, that a homeowner could call and say, I want you to install my water service. We go out and cut the road, install the line, install everything, and that is an undeveloped fee.
Okay.
That's the difference in those two. So the developed basically covers the cost of the meter and a little bit of time to install it. Undeveloped includes asphalt, curb and gutter, sidewalk, landscape, pipe, everything. Working down the list, the taps, water main taps. We have in our ordinance that anytime a main line in the road gets tapped for a new service, that means they go out and drill a hole in it and put a valve for a new service, be it 1 inch, 2 inch, 4 inch. Only city employees and staff actually do the tapping. The fear is with our higher pressures, if they do it wrong, you could split that water pipe, especially the PVC and plastic lines. So we require that we do it, and we have a cost to do that. That cost is calculated very detailed. I'd be happy to get into any of that if you'd like, based on the time it takes to schedule it, do the tap, the crews, the truck, the drill, the equipment, and all that. We did find a contractor that provides that service, called and got their list of fees just to make sure we weren't crazy above or below. And Joe told me we were basically just below the private market to do that.
And this is not linked to the tap rooms though, correct?
They need water as well to brew. No, it's not.
So you're not out there tapping things you shouldn't.
Correct.
All right.
The others are just a fire hydrant installation and a sewer service connection fee, a fee to connect a new sewer line. The third are water service fees, just random fees we have. You can see the 0% indicate no change in that fee. You can see the increase in the others. One question that came up in Water Advisory Board was the reinspection fee and how that compares with the recently passed fire inspection, reinspection fee.
That would be me.
And it's the same.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I didn't know for sure,
Yeah,
so.
it is the same.
Good.
Going down to the sewer service fee, that one increased quite a bit, so I was going to mention that one. That's a verify sewer connection fee. Someone will call sometimes and say, I don't know if my home is connected to your sewer, or I don't know where it's connected to your sewer. I live on a corner, it could be here or here. And we will go out and, to our best effort, try and verify that. It used to be about the only method we had was drop a dye tablet in the toilet, flush it, and go look in the manhole to see if
where it comes
a different color showed up. We now use camera trucks. We use sonar detection, like blue staking type equipment. We also have our record of, we're out cameraing all the time, and we save all those videos so that if they call, we can look it up and say, oh, we do have that. So the method has increased dramatically as far as technology, cost, a little bit of time. If someone calls and we have that sewer video on record already and I can just look it up, we don't charge for anything like that. It's if crews go out and do that work.
That's cool.
And then the flow test fees, every development that changes or increases a demand to the water system is required to have a flow test done through our existing water model. And that can be for a new small business, pretty simple. That's the $100. And we've had more and more lately with these bigger developments, strata, or just the big ones that they have to get in the model and spend half a day building that proposed system so we can actually model it. That's a new charge, and so if they have 20 points in that need to be modeled, it's now $100 plus $12 per point.
Okay.
That was going to be a flat fee, and I can't remember what it was, Jeannie, 400, 300?
Yeah, we decided because we talked about how long it takes to do the model analysis, and we felt like it needed to have extra.
And so that could be anything from a simple duplex to a very large Cache Valley mall development.
So it's appropriately sized.
Yeah, so Joe went back and looked at the last 20 he's done and tried to say, okay, if I did these this way, what would that right dollar amount be? And $12 got pretty close to the time he used to do it. To give you an idea, a really big one would probably be $600. Fire hydrant flow test fee, we don't do very often. That used to be the only way to find what are the anticipated effects of your demand on our system. We now use the model, but some insurance companies, to insure their business, want a physical flow test done, so that's usually the only time we do it. Those are the fees. My next slide is we talked about that 3% increase. The last time it happened was May of 2022 or July of 2022. You can see under current rate for the 4 different classifications of water customer. We would propose to be able to continue that. The April of 2024, I proposed a 4% to partially make up for the year we missed, and then a 3% for 25 and 26. Our hope and plan, the reason we did 5 years last time, was to update the water master plan and do a rate study at the end of that and come back and see where we're at. We're waiting for 2 things. The water master plan, which is about 60-70% done right now, should be done this spring. And we also have 2 very large water infrastructure projects we've been anticipating for years. We wanted to have a better grasp of what the cost and scope of those would be. And we should know that also this spring and summer. So we're anticipating to do a rate study, hopefully the end of this year. And if we would bring that back with the results of that. And if that's prior to the 25 or 26, obviously that would, anything we pass or adopt, that would supersede those. And they wouldn't be needed.
Just can't be 35% again.
So
shouldn't be.
Why the disparity between May and July? Was it just?
The reason for that was we did May for residential, and the hope was to not do it in the summer when people are using more water, so it wouldn't be as big of a change. Get it done before the summer. And July was because that's when we traditionally did it, so we stuck with it.
Well, July 2, with respect to USU, they're on a July 1, June 30 year.
Okay.
So it was a budgeting issue for them as well.
Yep. And I proposed April for all these. It's simpler to do them all at once and not to remember 2 or 3 times per year. I have an email out to USU making sure they're aware of this workshop, and I'll be gathering their comments. We'll see if they voice the same concern or not.
Okay.
And then a couple little, just Jeannie mentioned a new water rate. We are planning to build this spring a water fill station for contractors that want to fill a water truck or those types of equipment that they can pull up to, go to the keypad, put in their PIN number, hook it up to their truck and say fill, and it'll do it and then automatically charge them this water rate for that water versus checking out meters and having them operate our system. This summer, if you remember, we had a barrage of water leaks, specifically along 2nd West, 4th West, and we believe at least some of those were associated directly to those hydrants being operated incorrectly. This rate was based on the cost of the water and the cost of building that fill station and paying that over paying that back over an appropriate amount of time, the life of it. Just to point out, to fill a large contractor's truck under the current rate would be in the $10 to $20 range. This would take that same truck to probably $40 to $50, to give you an idea. I did it based on 5,000 gallons.
So would this be something you could see other commercial organizations coming and filling at? Like a lot service or things like that, or would you think it's mostly used for construction type activities?
The large majority would be contractors, construction. It could be anything, I guess, that had a water transportation equipment.
My answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a 2-inch line. We can fill around it.
I'm just saying.
No, that's a great question. I thought about it. It's like, what do you want to fill? It's like, no. It's
we have learned with our meters that there would be a large construction project in Hyde Park, and that contractor would come and check out a meter from Logan, drive to the border of Logan, fill it up, and drive back to Hyde Park and use the water. We're also somewhat trying to discourage those types of things. Last one, in your resolution, I did.
But
yeah.
one quick, So if we have the fill station, they could go to Hyde Park, right? Or would it cost more?
They could come and fill at the fill station and then go to Hyde Park, you're correct, but this cost would probably discourage that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the cost through the meter is incredibly low. It doesn't even cover the cost to because the cost that's being applied to the meter right now assumes there's a flat being paid, but on these, there is no flat being paid,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But instead, now you pay per fill.
Okay.
And instead of paying a large deposit on a meter, you won't. So there's a trade-off.
But you
there.
also have to have sort of an account number,
Correct.
right?
You'd have to set up an account through the water department to get that PIN number.
Okay.
Lastly, in your resolution, under the sprinkler only, again, it's just that 4%, 3%, 3%. I just failed to put the USU other on that table. And so I want to point that out, that the resolution we present for you to pass or not pass in 2 weeks would be a little bit different than this one.
So in sprinkler only is because there are people who have installed special meters that meter their sprinkler use separate from their culinary use, because your sewage charge is based on total water use. But if you have a separate sprinkler meter, it is not included in your sewage charge because it goes back in the ground. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Makes sense.
Just
With that, are there any questions I can answer?
Very thorough, thank you very much.
Nicely.
I'm really jealous that I'm not on the water board now. 'Cause
I know.
Dang, it
That
sounds so
much
fun.
and they have treats too.
Oh, we're gonna get rid of that.
Yeah.
Where's Karen?
I was gonna say, why doesn't the audit committee have
Where's
treats?
Karen?
Discipline.
I've seen your treat
We've put that
parties.
under wraps for years.
Audit committee should have treats.
The audit committee should have treats.
Thank you.
Hey, actually, one quick question then, Paul. So for the average customer, what is the annual increase with these rates?
$3 per 100.
Let me,
If you can bring that
can I
next
get that
time.
to you?
Yeah, that would be great. Just
And I
to-
assume
$4
you're
and then
referring to the 4%, 3 and 3.
Yeah, right.
Not any of the fees or fines.
Correct.
Yeah,
I will
just
get
let people
that.
see how
Thank
the
you,
monthly
appreciate
bills.
it.
Thank you.
So what I understand is we have a base rate and then it's consumption after that. So I don't think this affects the base rate, does it?
It would be an increase on all of them.
Increase on the
All
base
of the
rate?
rates.
Okay, and the base
Except-
rate is up to 10,000 gallons?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it'd be around $1.50 to $2.
Okay. That's,
A water bill for 10,000 gallons, $40, $45, 5% of that, $2. So, but I'll get some numbers.
I would appreciate that, because I think that might be a question
Okay.
the public has.
Shows, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ is anxiously waiting in the wings to talk to us about something that we know nothing about.
Our water costs are so cheap compared to everywhere else in the country. We are so fortunate to have inexpensive water. So,
Well, and we're the driest state.
And we're the driest state.
The second driest state in the union.
yeah,
Not necessarily to brag about that.
because our infrastructure allows us to get.
We know nothing about this workshop item.
We know nothing about this. This is rezone ordinance 24-08. It is
Accessibility.
the Little Balloons Berry.
So following the 2-2 tie vote a little over a month ago, the applicant decided to reapply with the exact same request in hopes that all 5 members vote and she receives a different
You are next up. It's on you.
So,
It's all on Resto. Or we could change minds
So do we need to go
of someone
over it
else.
again? Yeah, do we need to go?
no, the only change though is the planning commission recommendation
saw that.
changed because their body
They had one
configuration
against now.
was different as
Yeah.
well. So 2 of them were out, and the one that was out originally voted no, or voted to not recommend
Did they stand
approval,
as
and that's David Lewis. And he had some very similar comments as Councilwoman Simmons here has. And so there was also 2 members of the public at that meeting but they both voiced support. One of them was actually a member of the Little Bloomsbury nonprofit, so.
Well, she said she worked for them for years or something.
Yes,
like that.
correct.
Okay.
So-
So we have an approval from the planning commission, but it was not unanimous this time.
Correct, now it's 4-1 is their recommendation.
And did the
Yeah.
conditional use permits change at all from what they originally approved to this?
Same request for the 3-room hotel. They actually decided to hear that rather than break it up, and they conditionally approved it. They need to solve some parking issues,
And some bathroom issues.
and some bathroom issues.
They have fire suppression issues with the hotel?
Yes. There is a pretty extensive list of upgrades that the home will have to be required to do prior to business license. But the applicant seems committed to do that, as she feels that the hotel is the best use of her property. And she did receive a short-term rental permit, but that didn't meet her needs. And so she's pursuing the hotel and the zone change. But yeah, I don't want to waste anyone else's time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
May I ask a question, Russ, that I didn't want to ask at Planning Commission? She kept saying that the gallery was going to be outdoors.
Correct.
Is that something we allow?
Yeah, it could be a special event on private property. It sounds like the gallery would be very infrequent and in the front yard.
I thought she said it was going to be there all the time.
Well, the actual
time.
TP.
Yes, she would like some art pieces to be displayed in the front yard, but as far as gathering, I understand it's very infrequent.
Gallery.
Yeah, but
Right, but
like an
her
exhibit.
foundation has events periodically.
And they do have quiet hours spec'd in the conditional, in the
Correct.
conditions for
It would
approval,
be-
10 PM to 7 AM is quiet hours for them, so.
Well, I didn't understand because originally when she talked about it, the art gallery was inside the building. And then all of a sudden it was out in the front yard. So that's where I got confused.
So she is planning to put it in the front yard?
Correct. With the exception of the accessible bathroom that needs to be associated with that.
With the gallery.
That would be inside.
Hopefully.
Is there,
In accordance to ADA standards.
as the new person on the council still, is there any, I mean, can people put whatever they want in their front yards like that? Or what's our,
There's a teepee
well, I know there's a teepee currently, but do we have?
and a hand cart.
As long as it doesn't block.
Right away or sight lines or?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have our landscaping guidelines you know, for xeriscaping, et
Right.
cetera, but I don't think that you can say you can't put an ugly flamingo or something in your front yard and have to have a conditional use permit for that.
I love flamingos, by the way.
Well, I didn't know if it was a business. That was my problem.
If the gallery is a business.
If the gallery is part of the business plan, is it appropriate for us to have the business in the front yard?
Is she selling the pieces or just displaying them?
Well, she's
Just selling them? I mean, just displaying them or selling them?
she's, in her business plan, she's gonna sell them because the artists who create them are gonna get 60% and 40% we're gonna go to a nonprofit
Foundation, right?
or something. And so I don't know, I'm not clear is all.
Is that something that would be governed under our business license?
Yes, she would need a business license for that use.
But I just didn't know whether we let that happen in front yards. I know we have garage sales in
I was
front
gonna
yards.
say,
but
yeah,
they're
garage
occasional.
sale.
It's occasional.
Yeah.
The teepee was a tough one for us because that's borderline structure. And we do have regulations on structures in the front yard, setback compliance, et cetera. The hand cart is mobile, and it sounds like the other
But it's in the
pieces-
park strip.
It is in the park strip. We could move that at any time. But some of the art pieces, they just kind of fall under this.
Well, I just didn't know whether permanent business in the front yard was part of what we could do. So I didn't know. That's all. If the answer is yes, then I know it's yes. If the answer is, I don't know, then it's something we need to think about.
When we get the business license application, we'll review the proposal and go from there. I mean, the business address will be inside, but the hotel will be 90% of the structure. She may have a small administrative office.
In the TV.
But other than that, again, I think it's going to be infrequent, but we'll look at it and respond for you.
Okay, that was just my question. It's fine.
Okay, any other questions for Russ on this one?
What are you guys giggling about over there?
I said the office was going to be in the TV, so.
Then it would be a structure, and then it would be regulated.
That's a new seating assignment after that.
Mr. Holly, is there any way to encourage the applicant that if she has extensive information she would like to share with us, that she should do that in advance via email?
Yes, I can
Communicate that to
relay
her,
that. Yes.
reminding her that there's a 3-minute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I will do.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That'll make it easier for the chair.
Suggestion.
All right, anything else for Russ on this? Awesome. Mike, come on down, you're the next.
He had to take a walk.
And the price is right.
Because he had to.
It's a fall got going.
Ordinance 2405. This is a code amendment considering a proposed ordinance amending our land development code.
Yeah, I'll just tee it up and then Darren will kind of walk through some slides. This is ordinance 2405. It's a code amendment to 1729. We're not adding any language to the code. We're actually just adopting by reference. And state law requires us to adopt public works standards, and this is for water and sewer. I'll let Darren will go through the slides real briefly.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be brief. Utah State's winning 10-6 right now, so let's keep it fast here.
Let's keep it there.
But I will have plenty of time for questions if that's a need. So real quick, we've been working on an update to our public works design standards. These are standards used to help engineers and consultants to put together plans for new construction in the city. And there's a number of codes that we follow. We got state and federal codes, but really we're just working on these highlighted area public works design standards, and then APWA standard specifications and standard plans. And those are produced by the American Public Works Association, the Utah chapter, and they do a statewide general standards set that most of the state use. I would say probably 90-95% of the state uses that standard with amendments. And so we've done that same thing in history, same process. So we updated our standards to accommodate, to reflect our amendments to that overall standard. Our current condition, we currently, if you look at these two blank pages that are illustrated here, we currently don't have that standard. It's not like we never had that standard. With the last update, that standard was not yet ready, and so it hadn't been put into code. And so this is the opportunity we've had over the last year to write those standards and get them developed and put together in a format that is reasonable, and that we're here to
What
present
have
that
you
tonight.
used in the meantime?
That has been a consternation for even our state officials that have said you need to have a standard, and so we haven't had really a standard, and it's something that we.
So it's been a sewer free-for-all?
No, we do revert back to that APWA standard.
That does not sound good.
I was like. State code has a lot of general standards that we follow.
Oh, okay.
We just sometimes we get a little bit more specific as it pertains just to Logan.
Okay, just checking.
So we just been state code standards for now.
Right. Then federal.
Yeah.
And so there's also details that go. There's also details that go along with it, and we'll look at details really quick. And then one of the things we had is scattered references to materials. Like, we want you to use this material here, and another section, we want you to use this material here. It really was just hodgepodge, and so we wanted to bring it all together in an approved materials list, so we'll show you that. So we kind of talked really about the purpose. It's really, Logan is unique because we're here in northern Utah. It's colder here. We have our water lines deeper to keep it from freezing. St. George, they don't have that issue. And so those are the types of things that we want to do, is make it unique to Logan and make it fit how we develop here. So again, we talked about these standards. I don't need to elaborate on these. The only thing I'm going to mention is we've talked about that APWA standard. Now they have standard specifications and standard plans. They are in the process of creating a 2024 version of that. It was supposed to be a 2022 version. They didn't get that in 22 or 23, and they're working on 24. They promised us that they were going to have that. So we're going to wait for those standards to be able to do any updates to that. They do have, they call them standard plans. They're just details, typical details. We did go ahead and make some changes there because we just needed that for our contractors and our engineers. They've been needing that information, and we've been needing to get that to them. So we went ahead with that, and we may have to make a change to that in the future.
Okay. It would be a revision as opposed to a nothing.
Yeah, right. And I'll just, here's an example. So that you can see on the left, that's the APWA detail, and this is in our current standards. We have this detail, and we've had all these red lines. And as we started looking at this to say, hey, does this look good? We said, no, there's more red lines we need to add, and we started saying it's not realistic to give this to a contractor and expect them to be able to negotiate all the red lines. So we ended up basically using this detail, creating new details that just highlight what we expect to see. So it's based on this overall Utah standard, but it's really more specific to Logan.
Okay.
Okay. So you just took their graph and cleaned it up?
Just cleaned it up and really took out stuff that we don't use here.
Okay.
Because again, they're developing this for the entire state. Just the things that we use and we know that are customary for our staff to keep on hand in their supply. So we want to make sure that the engineers and the contractors and developers are all understanding what we expect to see, so that there's no miscommunication when they go to build these improvements. If I go back up to this slide, so this is really the highlights. We always specify that we're in compliance with state and federal codes. It's really just because those codes change, and we got a state legislature that has a lot of pieces of legislation going on right now, and so that stuff changes frequently. So we always just want to refer to, we're always going to follow the latest state and federal codes. We want to provide a good single location for engineers and contractors to go to find this information. We don't want to have them hunting and pecking for it. We really wanted to document how the design needs to happen for water and sewer systems. And we put together a sewer lift station detail. This is what our typical lift station looks like. That helps developers know. Sometimes they want to build their lift station and then they want to give it to us. And this helps them see, this is what our lift station looks like. If you expect to give it to us, build it in this format. Okay. So that helps out. We have some water flushing and testing and acceptance criteria that we've spelled out really clearly. And here's one of the biggest things that I personally have wanted to see is a water looping standard that when we create new subdivisions, that we don't have a single feed to that subdivision. We have it looped in other places so that if that single feed goes down, we don't have to shut off the whole subdivision. Or in some places, there's multiple subdivisions fed off of a single feed. And so we look at how do we create these looped conditions. So we wanted to add looping as a need there, and then we identify how many houses we even put on a dead end line, and we say you can at least put 30 houses, 30 equivalent 1-inch meters on a dead end line, on a cul-de-sac type application. So that gives you a limit so that we don't get too many users on that line that can be shut off if one event happens. That is really the highlights of our presentation. This is an example of what our approved materials list would look like. So we have different materials and there's different manufacturers there. It's good to have multiple manufacturers. It gives gives opportunity for the pricing to be in fair and equitable shape for all the different manufacturers. Anyways, it just helps us to have a uniformity in the materials we use in the city. But that is my presentation tonight, if there's any questions.
Have you had any feedback from the contractors?
We presented this at our annual contractors meeting recently. We went through the same information with them, and I haven't had positive or negative communication from contractors on it.
They were just
And there was
sponges.
nothing before planning. Nothing came to planning.
Yeah. No, just curious.
It should also help simplify things as a project progresses.
Exactly. We'll be moving on. We're going to update our stormwater and our transportation. Those are the other two sections. And so that we're 30% through our stormwater section right now. We feel might as well get everything in the same format and shape.
Nice.
Good.
Clarifying.
Thank you.
28. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
God, we get to hear from Craig for two things.
We never hear from
I
Craig for two
appreciate that you
things.
dressed up for us tonight, too.
Two things from Craig.
Well, I'm impressed with Teresa, that she put 8:45 as our time to adjourn.
Yes.
So I've got an hour and 10 minutes to fill.
Craig.
Only if you still want to jump tomorrow.
We don't get to hear from you very often, so it's going to be delightful.
This first one is a code amendment. It's just a housekeeping change. So section 105210 provides that no person shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle, and then it gives certain circumstances and areas. A19 of our current code prohibits parking in the Logan Transit District bus loading zone. And then it also refers to city buses elsewhere in the code. So the purpose of this amendment is just to update the code to bring it up with the current public transit organization, obviously not run by Logan City any longer. So it's going to replace Logan Transit District with public transit and then public transit buses. Just a minor clarification.
How are you going to stretch that to an hour?
I was expecting an hour of questions.
Oh, no, he's going to get the questions on the next one.
Any questions for Craig? All right.
No questions.
All right, the next one is appointing temporary justice court judges. State code authorizes the appointment of temporary justice court judges. So if Judge Edwards is out of town or has a conflict of interest or is ill, can appoint another justice court judge can be appointed to fill in for him.
He just wants a vacation.
Yep.
That's another reason. 2019, the city passed a resolution appointing Judge Funk and Judge Loers to fill in when needed. And this resolution just provides a more flexibility, more options, so that any justice court judge currently holding office in the first judicial district could be appointed, rather than just those two.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan.
You still have 58 minutes.
Yeah.
Those 2 minutes.
And this is appointed by the mayor, correct? The judges are appointed by the mayor if they need to be a temporary.
The temporary would be appointed by the council.
By us.
Yeah.
She makes a recommendation.
But if it's anybody, then, I mean,
Any active,
you wouldn't bring each instance to us.
no, it's anybody that's currently holding office as a justice court judge in the first judicial district.
So who makes the decision who it is?
We could say, I'm going to be out of town this week, can you fill in Judge Loers or whoever, just one of the active current justice court judges.
So us approving this allows that flexibility. We don't personally approve every temporary one. We're just approving the concept of a temporary.
You're approving those who are currently holding that office.
Could be the temporary. Okay.
And so he picks who he wants to have take his place?
It's just a substitution.
Okay.
But they're all law trained, or they're all trained. They have to do more legal education training each year than lawyers have to do.
Some of the local judges are more qualified than others.
It's like some city council members are more qualified.
I knew that counts.
But no, I mean, I don't think, what I'm saying is,
I
I
didn't
don't
make eye contact with anybody when I said that.
I don't think you have to have a law degree to
No,
be.
well, there is one justice court judge that currently does not have a law degree. I think there's either past legislation, it's been discussed for years, maybe following law change.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head if that legislation.
Because that would be a little bit of a sticky wicket, I'll say again, for me. You know, I would like to say that probably our court handles more involved legally based cases than might happen in some of the smaller communities.
Yeah, the volume that comes through our court is much, much, much higher than other courts.
Right. And so I just want, I would like to say that it would have to be somebody who's appointed but also law trained.
I can visit with Judge Edwards and get his thoughts on that also.
Yeah, I'm just a little, that part.
It doesn't happen a lot.
No, I know that. It's not a big deal, but I just feel like we need to offer the same level of service, whether he's present or he's allowed to go on vacation and someone else is taking his place.
Yeah, and they are all, and there can be a varying degree of experience and legal experience for sure. In 2022, the city paid $180 for the whole year for a substitute.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often at all.
No, it doesn't.
And he'll usually choose the judge who he's most comfortable with.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Like you said, it's not a big deal, but it's really important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They arm wrestle for it.
Yeah, in our arm wrestle.
Anyway, sorry. I don't mean to take more
Any
time.
other questions for Craig?
No.
Okay, are there any other considerations?
Could I just say one thing? I was invited by Patrick Belmont to attend a series of 3 workshops the last 3 Fridays for 2 hours each time on sustainability. And it was very well done, and it sparked a lot of interest in some elements of what we can do moving forward. And as we begin to talk about it, share. It's just, if you have an opportunity, you can watch them online.
I watched a couple of them. They were
Do
great.
you want to share the link with us?
Yes, please.
I will figure out the link and share it with you.
Yeah, that would be
I
great.
only know the first part of it.
That'd be great.
It's okay.
Okay, I think I have 2 of the links, if you can't find them.
Well, they're all together.
And then is anyone attending the Napoleon Dynamite meeting tomorrow? We all got that request
We did.
to attend. I didn't know if anyone was planning on
What time
going.
is it again?
At 1 o'clock.
Mike said he would go.
I did say I would go. I do love Napoleon Dynamite.
I've never seen it, so I would be really worthless.
I'm just curious. It's not that somebody needs to, but I just was curious.
What are they doing at it again?
I think it's at the Cache County Courthouse.
Well, what are they doing?
They want to have a
They want
Napoleon,
an anniversary of the movie.
and they want to make it a big, like a week. And
Here in Logan.
they're going to have,
Between Logan and
But
Preston.
they shouldn't they do that in Preston?
they're going to have a showing at the Ellen Eccles Theater, and there's a possibility that somebody important is going to be there.
Tomorrow?
No,
Not for the festival.
for the festival.
Yeah, no,
And then when they were going to do that showing, then all of a sudden, everybody got excited and wanted to make it a whole festival and like a week-long event, and part in Preston and part here. And
when is the festival supposed to be?
I don't know. All I know is my daughter made a phone call from the phone that Napoleon called and said my lips hurt real bad when she was a volleyball player at Logan High. It was the highlight of like her being, she'd been here for a month, and it was like the highlight of her life at that point in time. Thank God, more important things have happened.
Since then.
Do we feel like we want someone attending? Because I can go.
If you feel like you would like to, you're welcome to, but I just wanted, it was
I'll
just
see
a
if I can figure it out.
question
If I don't make it, I don't make it.
as to whether, and then Holly, I was wondering, once the session is over, because I know there's several bills that have potential impact on the city, is there a way that we could kind of facilitate either, I don't know,
I don't know if any of the council members are going to the LEAP conference in St. George. I mean, they always do a big recap there. And they typically send out materials recapping what new legislation we need to address, so.
All right. We haven't had quite as many, you need to quickly write a letter this year.
No.
Oh, is it?
No.
Surprisingly.
And if you're gonna, sometimes it's hard to get
All right, any other considerations? All right.
Are you gonna email me or should I email you?
Seeing none, we're adjourned at 7:44.
Can't talk about it anymore.
Hour early.